So my dad used to play the trumpet and the violin, and my mum is a piano teacher and she also played the electronic organ as well. So we grew up in a very lively household. I started learning piano and violin very young, and my sister and brother sort of followed suit as well. And then we used to do little family concerts and, you know, loads of performances. And I don't know, it's been a fabric and a framework of our lives, you know. Kind of, we just did it. It was just like another language, you know. It was just like, yeah, it was just, let's just play something, you know. Let's just jam, you know. It was just like that. So I did a music degree, and I realised that I didn't really want to be an unemployed musician, you know, having just graduated, because it's, you know, it's not something you just go into. So I kind of quite liked journalism, so I did a bit of music journalism, you know, just wrote for a couple of magazines and interviewed some bands. Then I got a proper job in book publishing. So I did that for a couple of years, but at the side I also did quite a lot of gigs and performances, and eventually got to the point where I could sort of ditch the day job and, you know, do this full time. So I've been a full-time musician since 1999. Both my sister and I have the Chi name as our first Chinese name, so she's Chi Shang, I'm Chi Yen. So hence our band is Chi too. We've gone out as, you know, as session strings. I guess we've gone out and played with other bands, but we've also had our own band since, I guess, about the same 1999, something like that. At the time, it felt really experimental and really cool, and, you know, and she plays some Chinese instruments, the jinghu and the erhu, and she put it through effects. And, you know, I know now people do it, and it's, you know, nothing new, but back then it was a little bit different. So it's more kind of like fun, really, whilst exploring our, you know, our heritage. 2008, 2009, we toured our show Monkey King, inspired by the very famous classic Chinese tale, and we created a modern version. So I think we called it a modern Beijing opera. So it's got elements of it, but, you know, we kind of did our own take on it. I've wanted to delve into the richness of the Chinese sort of culture. That translated into the music that I wrote. And my last album, Snapshot, I didn't want to do anything that was too electronic. I just felt, no, I've got this piano, let's just use the colours of that and see how I can explore, you know, the Chinese element, you know, in it as well. So I collaborated with Dennis Lee, and I got him to play the guzheng and the xiao, which is the flute, and wrote, you know, a whole suite of music for these instrumentation with violin as well. So the themes that I covered are the loss of my father, because he passed away suddenly from colon cancer, and the birth of my first child, childhood sort of reminiscence, and first love. You know, I think universal key concepts that we can all, you know, identify with. The guy I've worked with longest is Moby, and he's, you know, great to work with. I started working with him on his album Play, which went massive. And then over the years have been called back for various tours, you know, with his other albums. So that's been really lovely. Asian Dub Foundation are really cool, really lovely people. I worked on their album History of Now. And that was more collaborative. We worked on the album as well as live shows, and I mean, I've really been so lucky to work with such amazing people. It's great, I love it, I absolutely love it. But you have to be of a certain mindset and mind frame to be, you know, freelance, self-employed, because you often have money and you often don't. Yeah, I do a tiny bit of teaching as well on the side, so I've got something semi-regular, but I just have a couple of students. I don't have huge amounts. And when I've got two little girls, 3 and 5, so it's quite full on for that side of things. So I guess the good thing, you know, the positive things of being self-employed is that you can work within reason. You can try to work, you know, within the hours that you have. You know, of course, there's loads of evening stuff and weekend things that you've got to do, but I wouldn't say I've got the right balance by any means. I think that you try your best to kind of, you know, you try your best to juggle, I think.